What up, Rival Gang, and anybody from the YouTube space seeing this video? Welcome to part 7. Yes, part 7 of my What If series, and we have Carnage. What if he joined Marvel Rivals? Mr. Cletus Cassidy, the Red Slayer, Chaos is the only law himself, Duelist, 5 stars, and trust me, it's going to make sense. It is going to be so rewarding playing this character as a duelist because all duelists want to do is do damage. Well, heck, I got you a character. I got him right here. This is my version of what it would be like potentially if he joined Marvel Rivals, so let's get into it. So, starting off at 250 HP, 90 damage per second, which always we'll get into that. Symbiote will be his main form of attacking, of course, and then we have 7 movement speed, which is 7 meters per second. So that is a little bit faster than most of the characters in the game, but that's going to make sense in just a moment. So let's hop into his first ability. So we have Red Slaughter. Every slash or whip hit Carnage lands fills the frenzy gauge. The gauge drains at 10% per second when he stops hitting. At 100%, the gauge overflows with Bloodshed State. All damage increases by 12%. Every hit restores 8 HP, and the gauge holds at 100% for 4 seconds before beginning to drain. Landing a kill during Bloodshed State resets the 4-second window entirely, 10 kills to sustain indefinitely. So that is pretty much the whole thing, right? You want to, again, we put in that pressure on the enemy team where it's just non-stop, right? You're going to be, like I said, a minute, literally Carnage in the flesh on Marvel Rivals. Like that is your ultimate goal, right? To put as much pressure on them as much possible, to do as much damage as possible, keep them on their toes where they don't know when it's going to be somebody's last input before they back in the spawn room. That is what you want to do. So we have the left mouse button, which is Symbiote Slash, a 3-hit symbiote blade combo dealing 90 DPS. Hits 1 and 2 are rapid short-range slashes, filling the frenzy gauge by 5% each. Hit 3 morphs the arm into a wide cleaving axe swing, 40% bonus damage, hits all enemies in a 4-meter arc, and fills the gauge by 10%. In Bloodshed State, the axe triggers a 1.5-second bleed for 40 DPS on all enemies hit. So just to go ahead and put it out there, most of these abilities are going to have a Bloodshed State effect, which is again why you want to keep putting that pressure on the enemy as best as you can, because you want to stay in that Bloodshed State, because clearly that is what's going to get you the best output of all these abilities here. So let's hop into the right mouse button. So we have Carnage Whip. Carnage cracks a symbiote whip in a sweeping arc up to 10 meters, hitting all enemies in the path for 85 damage. Only the last enemy struck is pulled 3 meters towards him. Each enemy hit fills the gauge by 10%. In Bloodshed State, the whip pulls up to 2 enemies, and the last 2 struck, the last 2 struck in the sweep instead of just one 9-second cooldown. So you're pretty much pulling people out of the fight with this one. Ultimately, you're creating those isolations, or if you're in a Bloodshed State, you get to pull 2 enemies and they have no choice but to focus you, because if they don't work together and get you out the picture, then more than likely they're going to be back in that spawn room. So when you consider everything going on in the game, I know this may seem a little bit OP, but the reality of it is that, you know, again, they're going to have to focus you. And hopefully your healers and whoever, your tank that you have accompanying you on this mission, you should be supporting your Carnage at every move of the way, especially if he's doing what he's supposed to do, because as long as you're assisting him, you're going to get these kills. Trust me, you're going to be applying so much pressure. I mean, look at the damage that you're going to be doing here. You're going to be doing bleed, more than likely, just due to your left mouse button, right, in that Bloodshed State. And then on top of that, you're pulling 2 enemies, you're moving their locations, you're dislocating them, whatever term you want to use, right? Like, we all know how huge that can be when the enemies, they can't reach each other, whether they're the healers, the tanks, duelists. Y'all get the point I'm trying to make, right? So let's move forward to the shift ability, which obviously is the mobility ability. It says Symbiote Lunge. So Carnage fires a symbiote tendril at the wall, enemy, or surface up to 14 meters away, and yanks himself forward at it at high speed. On arrival, he automatically triggers a free Symbiote Slash opener. The first hit lands instantly with no animation delay, fills the gauge by 15% on connection, 8-second cooldown. So pretty much this is like his version of the swing, essentially, right? But his is to ultimately help him, again, ramp up the gauge so that way he can start using some of these other abilities in their Bloodshed State. right? Because again, the goal is you want to get that gauge up as quickly as possible. This helps you move whether you need to again exit the fight, or ultimately, in most cases, what we want to do is get into the fight, get that gauge going, so that way the enemy team has no choice but to focus you. And this is going to be my favorite ability right here, getting into the E, Lacerating Flurry. I think this is going to be so fun if he had an ability like this. So with that being said, Carnage erupts into a frenzied burst of Symbiote Slashes, 6 rapid hits in 1.2 seconds, dealing 45 damage each, totaling up to 270 damage if all in. So this real quick goes back to why this move right here, Carnage Whip, is very crucial, because if you can pull both of these off effectively, right, you're pretty much going to eliminate whoever's not being healed. Let's just be honest, right? This is some high damage stuff here, and this is how he's meant to be played. He's meant to be high risk, high reward. And with everything going on in the game, sometimes it's going to be hard to pull this off, because if you get CC'd or whatever the case may be, right, there's no clear lane to doing this or pulling this off every time. But if you can master this character and just pull off these 2 moves, this is what's going to be the ultimate, I guess you would say, bread and butter of this character, as far as him being able to execute what he's meant to do, and that's ultimately knock somebody off. So let's continue reading. So it says each hit fills the gauge by 5%. In Bloodshed State, all 6 hits deal the 12% bonus, and the last hit launches the target 4 meters, 12-second cooldown. So again, I think this is going to be the most fun ability in the kit, obviously, combined with all these other abilities. I mean, you're just going to be a menace, like I said. You're just Spider-Man on steroids to a certain degree. Or maybe some might say Venom, I don't know, because some people may say Spider-Man is already on steroids. But as far as just being a hash slashing slinger spider type, you know, this is what Carnage is, right? And we all want Carnage to be crazy, and I think this is the perfect way to make him crazy. All right, so now we have F, which is the whip slam. Carnage grabs the nearest enemy within 6 meters with a symbiote whip and slams them into the ground, dealing 90 damage and stunning them for 1 second. Fills the gauge by 30% on successful hit, 13-second cooldown. So this is pretty much another ability where it does raise the gauge up a lot, 30%, right? But at the same time, again, usually when things like this happen, this is when people start to target you. But I also feel like, again, it does create that isolation, because if you can pull this off, right, it allows you to win those duels. It allows you to displace people, so that way you can do what you need to do to ultimately get them going. Hey, it could be an execution move if you ask me. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you even need the stun. You just need to get them executed and out, so that way you can reset, you know, some of your abilities. There's so many ways that I feel like an ability like this with this kit can come in handy, right? Usually we can all be creative once, like I said, we get comfortable with the character. But hopefully y'all see the theme, right? And as I say in every video, this is all for fun, people. I'm not saying this stuff should legitimately be in the game, but I do think that these would be fun ideas, you know, to work around potentially if a character such as Venom were to come into the game. So moving forward, we have a C ability, which again, we usually know that this is like the team up ability, or as I like to say, hey, we can just look at it as maybe an extra ability instead. So with that being said, we have Wall Eruption. Carnage sprints towards any wall or barrier, plants both feet, and detonates a burst of symbiote mass on the surface, launching himself at a targeted enemy up to 16 meters away. On impact, he deals 95 damage directly to that enemy only, knocks them airborne for 1.2 seconds, 14-second cooldown. So again, nothing too crazy, right? It kind of goes in line with everything that we've already said. It's just another ability to keep him in the fight ultimately, because that's what we want. That's what you should want, right? As long as your teammates is backing up, you have to be smart here as well. So let me be clear. We don't want any character or any player just diving to dive and then die, right? We usually know how that goes. But this does allow a character that we want to put pressure on that enemy team, more than likely on offense, but even in some cases defense, right? If you can catch somebody slipping in the back line and you can get to them fast enough to punish them, these are the type of abilities that we want on a character like Carnage. We want him to get in there, knock them off, and get back safely, right? Get them back in that spawn room. So, the biggest one, the ultimate, maximum Carnage, 3,000 cost. Carnage fully surrenders to the symbiote for 8 seconds. The frenzy gauge instantly fills to 100% and Bloodshed State activates for the full duration. All hits deal 12% bonus damage and restore 8 HP each. Each slash and whip hit extends Bloodshed State by 0.3 seconds preventing the gauge from draining for as long as Carnage keeps landing hits. Carnage Whip and Symbiote Lunge have no cooldown. Lacerating Flurry cooldown drops to 3 seconds. Each kill extends duration by 1.5 seconds. So, this ultimately, at least in its base form, gives you 8 seconds to go crazy. 8 seconds to go crazy, right? You know, and again, I don't think this is a bad ability because ultimates, as we know, are meant to be strong, especially when it comes to our duelists, right? You got everybody else that's doing all these one-hit blow-ups and all these other things, so I don't really think that this is too strong of an ability. I think this is pretty a pretty grounded ability, like I said, for Carnage to do his thing and show off why they are a good Carnage player. This allows you to take that front seat of pure Carnage, literally, and do what you need to do to help push your team forward. Now, one thing that we really didn't speak on is the 8 HP that you get back. Because I think that's pretty important too when it comes to Bloodshed, because that does give him some sustain. I really didn't speak on that too much, but you know, again, that is something just to help Carnage just a little bit when he's trying to make things happen, so that way he doesn't have to be too dependent on his healers. But yeah, y'all, there we have it, Carnage. Like I said, I think a character like this with these abilities, you gotta love it, because they just help them push that offensive line as best as they possibly can, right? Now, is he gonna work for every team comp? Probably not, but you know, some people may say maybe this is a dive character. I don't know if he's necessarily dive, because again, I really do think that he can brawl. He can dive with this kid, don't get me wrong. But I don't know, looking at this myself, I really look at it more of as a brawl ability, because you want to be in that mix. You want to be hitting as many people as possible. But you do have the option, if you want to go ISO and pull 1 or maybe 2 people if you can, and do your thing, right? So, pretty fun kit. Another one I enjoy doing, obviously, you know, Carnage is one that I've been thinking about for a while, so I'm glad that I can finally get him done. But again, you guys let me know what you think. Tell me what you would change, tell me what you would keep, or whatever your own original ideas would be all together. I'm always willing to hear and see what you guys have to say. Again, I also appreciate all the love and support that I get with any of the videos and the streams that I do, you know, again, from the shorts, everything. I mean, I can't say it more enough, but I really do appreciate, like I said, all the, you know, positivity and like I said, just the support overall. Like I said, I really don't have the words. Obviously, I'm stuttering. But with that being said, I thank y'all, and hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.